It's the early 2000s, and graphic design is a fortress guarded by giants. Tools like Adobe Photoshop and Illustrator reign supreme, their complex interfaces and hefty price tags creating a moat around creativity. Only those with years of training or deep pockets can breach it. Now imagine a young woman in Perth, Australia, staring at this fortress not with fear, but with a spark of defiance. She doesn't just want to storm the gates, she wants to tear them down and build something new. This is the story of Canva, a company that took a winding, decade-long road from a bold idea to market domination, proving that design doesn't have to be exclusive, it can be for everyone.
Our tale begins in 2007, not with Canva, but with its founder, Melanie Perkins. At 19, Melanie was a student at the University of Western Australia, juggling her studies with a side gig teaching graphic design to her peers. She wasn't a tech prodigy or a seasoned entrepreneur, just a curious, determined young woman with an eye for opportunity. What she saw in those tutoring sessions frustrated her. Her students fumbled with Photoshop's labyrinth of menus and shortcuts, spending hours on tasks that should have taken minutes. The software was powerful, sure, but it was also a barrier. Melanie started asking herself, why does design have to be so hard? Why can't it be simple, intuitive, and accessible to everyone?
That question planted a seed, but it wasn't until she teamed up with her boyfriend, Cliff Obrecht, that it began to sprout. Cliff, a practical dreamer with a knack for operations, shared Melanie's frustration with the status quo. Together, they hatched their first venture, Fusion Books. Launched in 2007, Fusion Books was an online platform that let schools design yearbooks without needing expensive software or design skills. It was niche, think glossy pages of senior quotes and awkward prom photos, but it worked. Melanie's mom, a teacher, became their first client, and soon, schools across Australia were signing up. Fusion Books wasn't a flashy startup, it was a scrappy, bootstrapped operation run out of Melanie's family home, but it was profitable, pulling in enough revenue to fund their bigger dreams. More importantly, it was proof of concept. People wanted simple design tools.
By 2011, Melanie's vision had outgrown yearbooks. She imagined a platform that could democratize design for everyone: small businesses, students, nonprofits, even casual users making birthday cards. She called it Canva. It would be online, user-friendly, and packed with templates to make anyone feel like a designer. But turning that vision into reality was a Herculean task. Australia's startup ecosystem was small, and venture capital was hard to come by. Melanie and Cliff needed funding, tech talent, and a lot of luck. They started pitching to investors armed with little more than a prototype and Melanie's infectious enthusiasm. The response? Crickets, or worse, laughter. Over 100 investors turned them down. Some scoffed at the idea of challenging Adobe, a $10 billion behemoth. Others didn't see the point of dumbing down design. One investor reportedly told Melanie, "You're dreaming if you think you can take on the big guys."
But Melanie wasn't deterred. She was relentless, a force of nature in a startup world that often dismissed outsiders. She cold-emailed venture capitalists, flew to Silicon Valley on a shoestring budget, and crashed tech conferences to network. In one legendary story, she learned that a potential investor, Bill Tai, was a kitesurfing enthusiast. So what did she do? She taught herself to kitesurf, joined him on the waves, and pitched Canva between wipeouts. That hustle paid off. In 2012, after months of rejection, Canva secured $1.5 million in seed funding. Investors included Tai, Lars Rasmussen, co-creator of Google Maps, and a handful of Australian angels who saw potential in Melanie's vision. It wasn't a fortune, but it was enough to get started. Canva officially launched in August 2013, and it was a revelation. The platform was a breath of fresh air, a drag-and-drop interface, free templates, and a freemium model that made basic features accessible to all. You didn't need a design degree or a $600 software license, just a browser and an idea. The team, now including Cameron Adams, a brilliant engineer from Google, worked out of a cramped Sydney office, fueled by coffee and ambition. But the launch wasn't all smooth sailing. Servers crashed under unexpected demand, bugs popped up like whack-a-moles, and the team scrambled to keep up. Still, users loved it. Within months, Canva hit 150,000 users. Teachers used it for lesson plans, small business owners made flyers, and hobbyists churned out social media graphics. Word of mouth spread like wildfire, and Canva started to gain traction.
The early success was intoxicating, but Melanie knew the real battle was just beginning. Adobe wasn't going to let some upstart from down under steal its crown. In 2014, the giant struck back, rolling out cloud-based tools like Adobe Spark to compete with Canva's simplicity. Meanwhile, a wave of copycats PicMonkey, Crello later Vistacreate, and others flooded the market, mimicking Canva's playbook. The pressure was intense. Could Canva stay ahead in a crowded field? Melanie and her team responded with a flurry of innovation. In 2015, they launched Canva for Work, later Canva Pro, a premium tier aimed at businesses with features like team collaboration and brand kits. They also forged partnerships with stock photo giants like Getty Images, giving users access to professional visuals at a fraction of the cost. These moves kept Canva competitive, but the real breakthrough came in 2017 with Magic Resize.
Magic Resize was a game changer. With one click, users could transform a design into any format: Instagram post to poster, flyer to billboard, without starting from scratch. It sounds simple now, but at the time, it was revolutionary. Designers know the pain of manually resizing assets. Canva eliminated it. That feature alone turned casual users into evangelists and drew in professionals who dismissed Canva as too basic. By the end of 2017, Canva had 10 million users across 179 countries. The company raised another $40 million in funding, pushing its valuation to $1 billion. Canva was now a unicorn, a rare Australian success story in a tech world dominated by Silicon Valley.
But Melanie wasn't content to rest on her laurels. She wanted Canva to be ubiquitous, a tool as essential as Google Docs or Microsoft Word. In 2018, the company went on an expansion spree. They hired top talent from Google, Apple, and Dropbox, growing the team from dozens to hundreds. New offices popped up in Manila and Austin, complementing the Sydney headquarters. Canva also doubled down on education, launching Canva for Education in 2019. This free version for teachers and students wasn't just a goodwill gesture, it was a masterstroke. By getting kids and educators hooked on Canva, they built a pipeline of lifelong users. Imagine a generation growing up with Canva as their creative default. That's the kind of long game Melanie was playing.
Then came 2020, and with it, the COVID-19 pandemic. For many companies, it was a death knell. For Canva, it was rocket fuel. As the world locked down, businesses scrambled to go digital, and individuals turned to online tools for everything from virtual events to homeschooling projects. Canva's user base exploded, doubling from 15 million to 30 million in a single year. The team seized the moment, rolling out video editing and presentation features to rival PowerPoint and Premiere Pro. Suddenly, Canva wasn't just a graphic design tool, it was a creative suite. Investors couldn't get enough. In 2021, Canva raised $200 million at a staggering $40 billion valuation. Melanie, Cliff, and Cameron, once a trio of dreamers, were now leading a global empire. The years that followed were a blur of growth and ambition. By 2023, Canva hit 80 million monthly active users, fueled by new AI-driven tools like text-to-image generation and smart layouts. The company leaned into enterprise clients, signing deals with brands like Salesforce and Coca-Cola. They also kept the platform playful, adding quirky templates and animations that delighted casual users. Adobe remained a formidable rival, but Canva carved out its own kingdom, the everyday creator market. Professionals might still turn to Photoshop for pixel-perfect edits, but for the rest of us teachers, entrepreneurs, influencers, Canva was king.
Today, in March 2025, Canva boasts over 100 million monthly active users across 190 countries. Its valuation has soared past $50 billion, and Melanie Perkins, now in her late 30s, is a billionaire CEO whose name is synonymous with disruption. The Sydney office is a sleek campus, but the mission hasn't changed: make design simple, accessible, and fun. Canva's journey isn't over rumors swirl of an IPO or even acquisitions to take on Adobe head-to-head, but its road to domination is a masterclass in vision and execution.
So how did Canva do it? It started with Melanie's refusal to accept the status quo, a belief that design shouldn't be a privilege. It took Cliff's operational grit and Cameron's technical genius to turn that belief into code. It required surviving rejection, outmaneuvering giants, and listening to users every step of the way. From Fusion Books to a $50 billion empire, Canva's story is a testament to what happens when you dare to dream big and then work like hell to make it real. As they keep pushing the boundaries of creativity, one thing's certain, Canva's long road has changed the world of design forever.